as we fill your mind with spooky true crime stories of the deranged, unhinged, and absolute pure evil murders that will blow your mind. Some places we will visit to show you around and educate you on the history. Other times we will bring you to the paranormal because the dead never lie silent for too long.
Be the last time anybody sees us alive. I don't know where she has us, but we're gonna get fucking killed.
Hello?
Gina, there is a beehive over there. Do you see that in the hole?
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
This episode contains content that may be alarming to some listeners. The topic presented today is of a graphic nature and will be discussing violence against children. We do our best to talk about these topics with respect and sincerity, and we hope you will join us whenever you feel ready and able.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I have a new hostess today. The hostess with the mostess.
That's right.
I know. Look
Being
at
sponsored by Taco Bell. Just kidding.
I had to get Gina
Go
this
ahead.
costume because, well, my new hostess is the beefy burrito.
That's right.
Yes, she is one yummy beefy burrito, according to one of our frequent commenters
Yeah.
on our YouTube page. So I decided to get Gina a
Costume to wear.
beefy burrito
And I told
costume.
her, I said, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to wear this and be serious this whole episode.
I just think, you
So
know,
laugh at me now because it's coming off quickly.
girl, you look hot. Like, I can see where the beefy burrito comment comes in.
Yeah, so I forgot the person's name that commented that, but I'm just curious. Where did that come from? Was it something that I said, or do I just look like a beefy burrito?
I just think you look delicious and super extra spicy. So I have no idea where the comment came from, but I think you look wonderful.
Yeah, Shannon
You're
just took it
looking-
and ran with it, and and she kept saying, "Oh, I have something for you. I have something for you." And so we went to record. She's like, "Oh, you're not ready yet."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Wait, what? What do you mean I'm not ready yet? Ready for what?" And then she whips this out.
It is the
And so
cutest
here
little
we
thing
are.
on you. Can you just stand up and give us a twirl, though?
Yeah.
Sure. Look at that. I mean, so lifelike. I just want to take a bite. Oh, yeah. There it is. I do not know. I mean, I see the beefy burrito now. I just don't know where the comment came from.
Yeah, it's
begin with.
It's quite large. Like it's like an
Yeah.
extra big tortilla. Like
It
I
is a
feel
one-
like 2 or 3 of me could fit in here, but
Oh, good, because it's a one size fit all. I felt at
Yeah.
first that maybe like, oh my goodness, but it's because you just couldn't find the armholes.
no, it's
And I think
it's quite large.
I think it's just a funky like style.
Yeah,
So-
burritos aren't easy to fit into, you know,
No,
or tortillas. I
Tortillas.
should say, but yeah, it's not easy to fit into.
I just
so.
love the detail.
I know
the
it's really
lettuce
good.
and the cheese
Lettuce,
and the tomato.
cheese, and tomato, and the
You got
tortilla.
the beef.
But I do have to say that when she showed me the package, I couldn't see any of this part on the chest. I just saw the tortilla, and I was like, "Oh, blood spatter."
She was pretty excited about that one too.
And she's
We're
like,
just-
"No,
A little disturbing.
no." So, okay, you guys
But-
had your laugh, and I'm gonna have to take this off. 'cause
Yeah, no, go ahead.
it's really hot here in LA too. By the way,
We finally started getting warmer weather. We've been overcast for about the last week. So while she's taking that off, I'll just update you. I am a grandma again to a snake. So my son decided that he was going to go buy a snake. And so I always call my kids' pets my grand pets. So I got the grand kitties, the grand puppies, and now I have a grand snake. And I did not think that I would like a snake. I thought I would tell all my kids, like, definitely do not bring home a snake. I don't want a snake. I don't want a tarantula. I don't want creepy crawlers. I don't mind iguanas, geckos, hamsters, anything else, but just not a snake and not spiders. And I'm still a real hard no on the spider, but I have to say, I love this snake. His name is Rocky. He's a ball python, My son is so into him that he's like researches things.
Why did we get a snake again?
Nathan just, I don't know. Nathan just said, I thought he was going to get an iguana, but he came home with the snake.
Okay.
And he's been researching. He takes the temp gun. He beautiful home habitat that he made for him. It's a snake that's about 22 inches long.
What's going to happen when
but he has a 40-gallon. I know he is so loving. I carry
don't care.
him.
What's going to happen when you wake up and he's like in your bed with you?
I'm fine with that. They're not aggressive at all. I carry him. He's not aggressive.
Till he's wrapped around your neck.
No, he's very, very sweet. They're very docile. I've learned a lot about ball pythons this last 3-4 weeks since we had him. And to the point where I'm not even afraid to pick him up. He does not try to strike, nothing, because they usually ball up when they're in defensive mode.
So can he bite?
He can, but it's superficial.
Okay.
Superficial bites. Nathan got bit one time, but only because Nathan made the mistake of holding his food with his hand instead of a prong.
And what does he eat?
He striked frozen mice, which is the saddest
what?
thing ever. Frozen mice. Well, thawed. They thaw them out. We thaw them out. The little mice. And they're really cute mice. That's the sad part. That is the sad part. But I do love him. He's funny because when I come into the room and he's hiding, I know they say they can't really hear voices. I've been trying to do a lot of research, but they hear vibrations. When I come into the room and I start talking, he comes out of his hole and he peeks up and he
they're
looks.
deaf?
Not that he's deaf.
Do they have ears? Do snakes have ears?
You know what? That's a good question. There's a lot of stuff I'm still learning. But
if anybody knows if snakes have ears, let me know.
Thank you. Yeah, put it in the comments. But I've been trying to follow a bunch of people and do a lot of research, but I haven't researched that part. But I did hear that they can't really distinguish voices, but they hear vibrations. Oh, okay. But I am telling you, when I come in and I start talking,
he knows.
Oh, he comes out of his little thing. He comes looking. He does his little tongue thing because he wants to smell me, because he loves me. I don't know. I get so giddy when I'm around him. I just love him so much.
Oh, well, that's good.
I know. I didn't think I would, but I do.
That's good. That's
so
a good thing,
that's
you know?
our new pet, Rocky. So I'm really, really excited. So, but my son, he's very followed by the rules. He's like, it says like, the first, few weeks, don't handle him too much. Let him get used to his habitat. He's like following all these rules. So he's like, don't hold him more than 3 times a week. And things like that until he gets used to it. There's certain times too, like right before you feed him, you're not supposed to hold him. Right after you feed, like after you feed him, you got to let their food digest before you hold him again. So we just fed him 2 days ago. So we're get to hold him today. So I'm so excited.
Wait, 2 days ago? How often do you feed them?
About once a week, depending on his weight. My son weighs him, and then you can weigh the little mice, but so you know how much. Yeah, once a week. About
that's not bad.
Maybe twice a week, depending on the size of the mouse that you give him and stuff. Yeah. But it was funny because you can kind of tell when he's a little bit hungry because we fed him. And then it was about a week later. And I don't know, he just seems more like looking. Oh. Like he'll come up to the side, look around.
Hungry.
He's hunting. And so we knew that it was time to feed him. And sure enough, within 30 seconds of my son wiggling the little mouse in the thing, he just takes it and he... But he doesn't swallow it right away. I'm telling you, it takes a while. I don't even watch it because, my heart breaks for the little mouse. For real.
That would be rough to watch.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't like to watch that part, but they're not live. So that makes me feel a little bit better, but I don't like the idea. But then again, we do it for cows and chicken and stuff. But raising mice for food, but we do it for us. So I kind of, But anyways,
it happens.
Yeah.
God only knows what they'd be eating out in the wild.
Yeah. Hunting.
Yeah.
So, I love it.
Well, that's good. That is good. Good. Today's my last day of school.
Today was the last day?
Mm-hmm.
So when does summer school start for you?
Monday.
Oh, okay.
I don't get a break.
No, not really.
No.
Oh, okay.
But I did receive that little thing over there on the dresser.
I saw that. And I was going to make a comment going, you are not even old enough to work anywhere for 25 years. Yeah, although you're you're around, she's a little bit younger than me, but still.
Yeah, I got my 25-year certificate yesterday.
Where's the... Yay.
Oh, let me find it.
We're going to hit a whole bunch. There you go.
I thought it was that one. Yeah. So,
25
years.
What do you get for that?
Nothing. Swift kick in the ass. Here's the 25 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So
Like, no,
I wasn't even
congratulations.
there.
Oh,
I wasn't even there because I have, other duties that I have to attend to. And so I was not able to go to the celebration for everybody to receive their certificate.
they wouldn't even like bring somebody in to take your. They're like, no, thank you. Nobody wants your job.
Yeah, so
I think you need an extra
But-
special.
that's okay.
Yeah.
25 years.
Congratulations.
After summer school gets out, we have 3 or 4 weeks before school starts. And I usually take on another assignment during those 3 or 4
Additional
weeks.
duties. Yeah.
And I opted out this year.
Oh, good for you. You deserve it. You need a break.
Yeah,
Yeah. So.
I'm tired.
Yeah. No, I
I'm
get
tired, so I just decided that this year I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Me and
So-
you. Look at that. Me and
So-
you. No Starbucks.
You know
No
what-
extra duties.
You know what that means.
we have time to go to the Bullfrog.
And I
Ranch,
just
Shoe
talked to
Ranch.
Heidi last night,
Okay.
and she was planning on going to Wisconsin, and she had to cancel her trip. So I told her we need to plan something. So
Okay. Sounds fun.
So we will be planning a trip shortly.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. So what's today's episode about?
So today's episode is about the Grimes sisters, and I had heard about this a while back. It came back to me because it's about 2 sisters. They are a little bit older than my aunt. My aunt was born, they're a little bit younger by 1 year. They were born in 41. My aunt was born in 1940. The sisters were born in 41 and 43, and they were huge Elvis Presley fans. My aunt was born in 1940 and is a huge Elvis Presley. Like, she met him. She's been to his house, like the whole 9 yards. Like,
Wow.
yeah. And so it kind of like came back to me as I've been at her house, a lot lately with my uncle passing and stuff. And she has a Elvis Presley shrine that I took apart and cleaned one day. And so I was like, oh, let's do this story.
Let's go back to the fact that how did she meet him and go into his house?
You know what? I don't know. To
You
be
need to get her
honest
to
with
tell you that
you,
story.
I've known this since I was little, that she knew him or met him and was in his house with her friend, but I don't know all the details. I don't know how she met him and did all of that. But
Is she from?
she's from Kansas.
Yeah, I was
so-
going to say, is she from the Midwest?
Yeah, she's from
Okay.
Kansas.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
yeah, so I thought, not that this is a good story or a cool story. It's a very, very sad story.
Yes.
But it kind of just like,
Triggered a memory.
yes.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So we are going to talk today about Barbara Jean and Patricia Kathleen Grimes. And they were only a few years apart in age, and they were attached at the hip from the beginning of their lives. Barbara, the older one, was born May 5th, 1941, and she loved her younger sister, who was born on December 31st, 1943. So they were pretty close in age. Patricia adored her older sister. Together, they fell in love with the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, and around the time of their murders, had just joined the official Elvis Presley fan club, which I'm going to see my aunt tonight. I'm going to ask her the whole story, how she met him, but I want to know if she was part of the Elvis Presley fan club. Yeah, she's all about Elvis. So the sisters had watched the movie Love Me Tender starring Presley 10 times, and on December 28th, 1956, they were heading out to watch for the 11th time. They left their home in McKinley Park around 7:30 p.m., promising they would be home before midnight. It's unclear how they traveled the 1.5 miles to the Brighton Theater, but they usually walked or took the bus. Together, they had, this blew my mind. Together, they had around $2.50, and Barbara was instructed to keep 50 cents in her wallet just in case they wanted to watch the second screening.
So that would have been like 25 cents each to go to the movies.
Yeah.
What state
Like-
was this in?
It's in Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so one of Patricia's school friends, Dorothy Weinhardt, told investigators that she had been seated right behind the girls with her own younger sister for the movie, confirming that the pair made it to the Brighton Theater. So they have confirmation that the girls actually got to the theater and were inside watching the movie. But this was the first showing. So the sisters left during the intermission of the double feature around 9:30 p.m. And as they left, they saw the Grimes sisters in line to buy a bucket of popcorn. They seemed happy and unworried. As the sisters had stayed for the second screening, they weren't expected home until around 11:45 p.m. But when they weren't home by midnight, their mother became worried. Loretta Grimes sent 2 of her 7 children, Teresa 17 and Joey 14, out to wait at the bus stop near their home for their arrival. 3 buses came and went without Barbara or Patricia, so the 2 went home to tell Loretta. While they were waiting, Loretta called around to their friends, hoping that the sisters had decided to spend the night at one of the homes. When they realized no one had seen or heard from the girls, Loretta filed a report at the police department at 2:15 a.m. on December 29th. The search was one of the largest missing person cases in the history of Cook County. Hundreds of officers were assigned full-time to perform a citywide search for Barbara and Patricia. Officers from surrounding suburbs chipped in to help search, and eventually a task force devoted solely to finding the sisters was formed. So it sounds like with a lot of the cases that we have talked about recently, where they didn't put a lot of manpower into things, it sounds like there was a lot of people searching for these girls.
And fast.
Yes. Hundreds of local volunteers assisted the police in the ground searches that began on December 29th. The police, in tandem with the searches, conducted door-to-door canvassing throughout Brighton Park. The canals and rivers were dredged, and more than 15,000 flyers were distributed. Churchgoers from the Sisters Church collected a $1,000 reward for information leading to the whereabouts. That was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, that is
when
a
you
lot
figure
of money.
25 cents to watch a movie. So
yeah,
there you go. So $1,000 at that time was a big thing. Around 300,000 people were questioned. That's a lot of people. 300,000.
Did they even have that many people? Did they even
right?
have that many people in the town?
Right. And around 2,000 getting subjected to serious interrogation about the potential involvement with the disappearance of Barbara and Patricia. 2 arrests came and charges were brought against the individuals who confessed to the crimes, but it was all dropped. One of the 2 was Edward Bedwell, who claimed to have been coerced into confessing after a prolonged interrogation. And I'm going to tell you something. Years ago, when people used to say like, oh, they were coerced and blah, 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 I was like, bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. After watching
I know what show you're talking
Making
about.
a Murderer.
Yeah, the Making a Murderer one.
And there's just been, there's been a lot of things that I've seen where they just break you down. You see the way that they talk to them, and it's hour after hour after hour that goes into days of where they're just
and the
hounding
threats
them.
they make. Like,
Exactly.
if you don't confess, then you're going to get it way worse. And so they get scared into
the things that they
confessing.
threaten them with, and like it's terrible. It's
Yeah.
really, really awful. So I believe that that's 1,000% possible, where people actually get forced into just like, okay, I did it.
Yeah.
Like, just leave me alone.
And it just depends on their mental capacity, things like that.
Exactly.
Their understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Despite the police's best efforts and extensive media appeals, no hard evidence was found or presented regarding the 2 young girls' disappearance. This is despite several of the girls' friends seeing the sisters conversing and entering a car described as a Mercury model with a young man who strongly resembled Elvis Presley.
No wonder.
The king of rock and roll took him. He's
The
like, get in my car,
conspiracy.
get in my Mercury right now. Prior to the task force's creation, several investigators assigned to the case theorized the sisters had run away or were voluntarily staying with a boyfriend. Their parents adamantly protested the theories. Other theories claimed the sisters were in Nashville, Tennessee to attend a Presley concert or had left to attempt to emulate the Presley lifestyle. I think back then there were like groups of girls. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of competition, but I feel like girls that age really feel like, oh, I got a chance. Like I could do, like this
If he just sees me and I show up.
So I mean, that's kind of like a believable theory.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm going to go on the road and I'm going to find him and I'm going to follow him and he's going to fall in love with me and we're going to live happily ever after.
He's going to know.
That's right.
I'm the one.
Yeah. Loretta didn't believe these theories and was certain her daughters had been kidnapped. So she made a public plea. If someone is holding them, please let the girls call me. I'll forgive them from the bottom of my heart. On January 19th, 1957, an official statement from Presley's Graceland estate was televised and a direct plea was aired over the radio imploring the girls to return home. If you are good Presley fans, you'll go home and ease your mother's worries. So not only were 300,000 people questioned, the whole God knows what world was looking for these girls, but they actually have Graceland involved in this.
Yeah. But that's where they're running away with the theory that the girls actually took off on their own. Because it's not like, please let them go. What happened to them? It's, if you're good Presley fans, you'll go home.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, I don't know. I can't see something like this happening in today's world.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you're an Ed Sheeran fan or whatever is cool. Yes. I don't even know what it is. I just said that because my daughter had an Ed Sheeran t-shirt on last night at bowling. I don't know. I don't know who's cool these days to like, but so the pleas weren't heard. However, as just 3 days later, on January 22nd, a construction worker named Leonard Prescott spotted what he described as these flesh-colored things behind a guardrail on a rural county road, German Church Road. He initially believed them to be mannequins and left. But when he returned with his wife, Marie, she passed out after realizing that they were nude, frozen bodies of the Grimes sisters. The Prescotts reported their findings to Willow Springs Police Department. Could you imagine?
That is so sad.
You know, I know it's a little morbid, but, you know, things like this do cross my mind. Like when I'm walking or, you know, like walking at the track or hiking, or I'm just like out, like, what would I do? What would I do? Like if I found a body, what would I do?
I think you would
be just excited.
Look at it and call the police and just be excited that you were in the middle of a crime.
Yeah. Like I want to solve this.
You were going to solve it.
I want to solve this.
And you would,
yeah. Cause like we all know that's like my dream. Like
you would be like, I called dibs on this one. I found it. So I get to solve it.
Yes. Where's my badge?
Thank you. When are you guys?
Yes. Yeah. What, like
making me take my oath?
Detective.
Yes.
Yeah. Like where do I sign? Like this is it, right?
Yeah.
And I would broadcast it all live from YouTube.
It would be with the camera right here.
Yes, with my body cam on, and like you guys would be like with me.
Part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. We would solve this together. God. These are the people. This is where my mind goes, guys. This is where my mind goes.
One day it might be possible though, because when she dreamed of having a podcast, and here we are 3 years
later. I know,
later,
right?
So
I know. How
you
crazy.
dream it, it'll come.
That's right. I'm not dreaming for anybody to be, killed so I can find their body. But if it just so happens that something, were to happen, I'm only kidding. Please don't come at me, guys. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You're on it.
But yes, my mind does work that way. Okay, here we go. So the sisters were lying on a flat horizontal section behind the guardrail that extended for around 10 feet before reaching the incline of an embankment leading to Devil's Creek. Barbara lay on her left side with her legs curled slightly to her chest. She had 3 wounds to her chest that resembled puncture wounds created by an ice pick. There were wounds resembling blunt force trauma on her face and her head. Patricia lay on her back with her body on top of Barbara's head and with her own turned to the right. Marks that resemble bruises were found on her face and her body. All the injuries are referred to as resembling what they are suspected to be, since the autopsy deemed the wounds to be from wildlife and created post-mortem.
So they think the majority of the injuries on the girls' bodies were made from animals after being dumped there.
Yep.
But I wonder what their one of them has ice pick, made from an ice pick.
Yeah.
So,
but they can tell if that's not how she died.
Oh, okay.
So wait till you hear how they died. Joseph Grimes, their father, was driven to the crime scene to formally identify the bodies. Over 160 officers from several suburban Chicago departments, some of whom were volunteering their time, and untrained civilians searched the crime scene, a fact that would later be criticized. Despite the number, little to no real evidence was found that was proven to be linked to the murders.
We hear that a lot, where especially initially, like, back older crime scenes where they just let people just trample all over these crime scenes.
Like, go ahead, just, walk through. Go ahead.
See.
Just step over the body. Don't step on it. Just make sure you don't kick anything. It happens a lot. It happens in not only cases where bodies are found outside, but in actual homes where crimes have taken place. Like, I'll go back to JonBenet Ramsey again.
Yeah.
That whole crime scene was destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, come on, people.
I think they've learned a lot from that in moving forward. I think it's getting better, but I do think, like, I don't know. I think it depends on what would it be? The experience of the team, or how many crime scenes you see. I think LA would probably be better at it than, let's say, a little town.
Yeah. When you have little towns where they don't experience stuff like that. Yeah. No, that is true.
So
the day following the discovery of the bodies, Barbara and Patricia's autopsies were performed by 3 experienced forensic pathologists who took 5 hours for each girl. Through examination of the contents found in their stomachs, it was determined that the girls were murdered within 5 hours after they were last seen alive at the Brighton Theater, placing their time of death around the early hours of December 29th.
And they did not find them until January.
Yeah. So it was a few weeks.
The middle of January.
Yeah. So they were killed right away. So they weren't, off
trying
with
to
Elvis
be
Presley,
Mrs. Presley,
trying to be Priscilla, or, the next Priscilla, whatever you want to say.
Yes.
Yeah. Their cause of death was ruled as shock and exposure, but was still classified as murder. It's reported that the cause of death was found through a process of eliminating by other possibilities. So because there was nothing else that they could find, that's how they determined that they died of shock. So, like, did they have a heart attack?
Well, were they put out into, because it is December, it's really super cold. Were they held somewhere that
within 5 hours?
Well, within 5 hours.
If that were to be my child or family member or friend or whatever, I would have a hard time with that. Well, because you're only coming to that conclusion because you can't find anything else. The autopsies claimed no obviously fatal wounds on either of the girls' bodies, and toxicology reports revealed that neither of them were drunk, drugged, or poisoned prior to the death. No clothing was found around the girls, but their bodies were completely clean, as though they had been cleaned, but that wasn't officially reported. So
it just seems like a really weird, like some weirdo took them to
where?
A room somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't
you're going to clean them up. Like,
well, after,
it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen. Like, look at, oh my God. Why can I not think of it?
Gacy?
No, the one with the smile. She was cut in half.
Oh, the Black Dahlia.
The Black Dahlia. Like, no blood. Like, her blood was drained from her. And like, you know what I mean? Like, this has to be really thought out.
Yeah. That's strange.
The only thing in their official autopsy report that is linked towards another person being involved with either Barbara or Patricia before their death is it was reported that Barbara had sexual intercourse, but it's unclear if it was consensual or not. Official death certificates for both Barbara and Patricia listed their cause of death as secondary shock, resulting from exposure to low temperatures that reduced their body temperature to below the critical level compatible with life.
I wonder if he stripped them naked,
just threw them out there,
got them wet, and then they froze to death because you're cold, wet, and
then
frozen, and that's why they were in curled up positions, because they were holding on to each other. But they were by the road, so isn't anybody driving by the road
for them to just be there for that long?
I'm thinking they were. I don't know. That's so weird. Within 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, okay, I'm going to throw this out there just because we've done so many of these. If their body temperature starts going so low, their food is not being digested.
Right.
As well.
Right.
So
Nothing's working.
Nothing's working. So I'm going to guess that maybe it took them longer than 5 hours, because if they're just going off the contents of their stomachs because of digestion, if they were out in the cold and their body temperature and they were going into hypothermia, maybe it was an overnight death.
I don't know.
And then they were laid there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so strange. Okay.
Yeah, it's really odd. One coroner performing the autopsy said the girls had been by the guardrail for many days before discovery. How are you just by a guardrail?
And nobody sees this.
Nobody sees you. Nobody's walking by. No cars are driving by. No one's just walking their dog. Nobody's nothing.
Okay, I'm going to guess that maybe nobody walks that way, because if it's along a highway, it might be dangerous to walk, because we've been out on those country roads.
And you figure too.
Cars.
Right. But you figure you have to take the weather into consideration too, I guess. Like wintertime, even if people are walking, nobody's going to be walking in the wintertime, because it's not like winter out here.
Yeah. No, it's really cold.
Yeah. It's not like in the 50s and the 60s where you can still
walk outside
without getting frozen to death. He also stated that the condition they were still in was because of the frigid climate leading up to January 22nd. So it also preserved them too, it sounds like.
Yeah.
He also claimed that they had laid there for more than 3 weeks because of the snow in that area that had been there since January 9th and the speed at which it had melted in the days leading to the discovery.
So that's why nobody saw them before that, because there was snow on the ground and they probably got snowed. So now they're wet, clean, and snow fell on them. So I don't know. Despite most official conclusions, the chief investigator for the Cook County's coroner's office, Harry Gloss, disagreed with the official time of death. Later, he stated to the media that there had been numerous marks of violence on those girls' faces. He also argued that the thin ice layer indicated the sisters had likely been alive until at least January 7th due to the weather and reaction to body heat. He believed that the sisters were still warm when they were dumped in the area, but agreed that they were deceased when they were put over the guardrail. So there is some disagreement on when they died, because, there are a lot of questions about it. And back then, they didn't have what we have today to kind of...
and you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah, it's a huge guessing game.
Yeah.
At that point. I think they use some sort of scientific methods, but... Gloss also stated that both girls had been sexually assaulted throughout a period of captivity, and the autopsy conducted found semen within the vaginal fluid swabbed performed on Patricia. This meant both Barbara and Patricia had evidence of sexual activity, but Gloss believed it to be non-consensual, and that the 3 forensic pathologists who performed the autopsy claimed they were unable to determine if it was or not. So they're still questioning whether it was consensual or not. But I really do think that that's why they were taken.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that it was non-consensual, because the thing is sometimes too is that people, and if Barbara, because I don't remember off the top of my head if Barbara or Patricia, who was the oldest, but like, let's say they go after Barbara first, maybe if she thinks like, okay, I'll just give him what he wants, he'll let us go.
Yeah, you don't know, again, what was going on in their mind.
Yeah. The autopsy also found curdling milk in Barbara's stomach, which she isn't known to have had on the 28th. Gloss believed that official suspect Edward Bedwell committed the murders, asserting the wounds hadn't been adequately investigated. His opinion is the markings on the girls' bodies were signs of being beaten before their murders, and that the signs of sexual assault lined up with Bedwell's 1957 interrogations. He claimed that the investigators failed to disclose these details of the case to protect the girls' reputations and or to protect their mother's feelings. Similar allegations would be repeated years later by others who claimed that they had read the original case files and had interviewed residents who claimed the girls had a habit of spending their free time outside bars on 36th Street and Archer Avenue, convincing men to get them drinks. Investigators connected to the case insisted throughout all the claims that there was no evidence to suggest either girl was disreputable or the victims of extreme violence or sexual molestation before their deaths. Gloss was fired on February 15th for refusing to retract his statements, and he claimed his termination was politically motivated. Sheriff Joseph D. Lohman would deputize Gloss to continue working on the Grimes sisters case without pay. This was done because the sheriff agreed with Gloss's argument that Barbara and Patricia were beaten and tortured by a sexual predator. So he was fired because he was making claims that they were sexually, because he's going against
everything. Yeah.
what they were claiming.
Yeah.
And also, that's what you need to be, is deputized. Yes. So I saw that word. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what Gina wants to be, deputized.
That's what I need to be. Well, I need to find a body first.
Maybe we can get you deputized so you can just kind of like see the workings of it.
Be on the hunt.
And then you're always ready.
Oh, yeah.
Just ready
Always
to
ready.
solve.
Yeah.
The police's lead suspect, Edward Lee Bedwell, was a 21-year-old semi-literate drifter who earned money as a part-time dishwasher in a Chicago Skid Row restaurant. He was tall and described as having a strong resemblance to Elvis Presley.
There you go.
Wow. And I'm just going to throw out there, my husband has a very strong resemblance, well, when he was younger and I met him, to Elvis Presley. I'm going to show the side-by-side photos of him and Elvis. Oh, yeah. I have never showed you their side-by-side.
No.
Got to show you that.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah. So we were actually eating in...
Was it him? I'm just kidding.
This is way too early for him.
I don't know. The book I'm reading right now is about time traveling. Could be a possibility.
We stayed in the restaurant in Uptown Whittier that had the pictures. What's the name of that restaurant? That's it's the Rocky Cola Cafe. And one time one of the waitresses, when we were first dating, stopped him and was like, you know, you look like Elvis.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
I've never put that together.
Yeah. And when he would work at the Marriott, a couple of people stopped him. He's going to hate me for sharing that story. But people would stop him.
That's not a bad
and
thing.
They'd always, and when I met him, I actually told him, I said, you know, has anybody told you resembled Elvis? And he said, no. And then about, I don't know, a month later, somebody came up to him in front of me and said that. And he said the answer no. And I looked at him, I said, oh, you told me no. And he goes, I get told it quite often that I just say no. Like he would get embarrassed. So,
oh, how funny.
Yeah. So anyways, back to the story. According to the restaurant owners, John and Minnie Duros Bedwell and another Mal were in the company of two girls who physically resembled the sisters on the early morning of December 30th. The information was given to the police on January 24th, leading to Bedwell's arrest and the 3-day interrogation. Bedwell was insistent the Duros were mistaken when identifying the girls he was with on December 30th. He was formally charged with the murders of Barbara and Patricia Grimes on January 27, 1957, after signing a 14-page confession in which he said that he and a 28-year-old acquaintance, William Cold Willingham, had been in the company of the girls until January 7th. They were drinking at West Madison Street saloons for most of their time together. After several days, the pair forced Barbara and Patricia to eat hot dogs before beating them for refusing their sexual advances. They dumped Barbara and Patricia's nude bodies into the snow-filled ditch after an attack. Willingham and Loretta Grimes argued the confession. Willingham stated that while he and Bedwell were in the company of two girls on December 30th, they weren't the Grimes sisters. He denied any involvement in the murder. I want to know if those two girls that they were with, if it wasn't them, why would they not try to find them then? So that they can corroborate his story.
Oh, the other two girls.
The other two girls that he claims he was with.
Yeah.
Loretta stated, it's a lie. My girls wouldn't be on West Madison Street. They didn't even know where it was. A lot of times we don't know what our children are doing.
Exactly.
Just going to throw that out there.
So, yes, they could possibly have been there. And, yes, they probably knew where it was.
Yeah. And hanging out with,
people that you don't know about.
Yeah. And guy resembled Elvis Presley. Okay. Maybe. They were all excited and these boys.
They're probably like, this is the closest I'm going to get to him.
Yeah.
So,
and it's just the day after they left. So they're really not gone that long.
Yeah.
So Bedwell recanted his statement, claiming he only confessed after being held in custody for 3 days and being under the false belief that if he confessed, the police would free him, which happens, like you said in the beginning. Yeah. Rather than believing his words, Bedwell's confession was examined, and nothing he claimed lined up with the autopsy report. He claimed they drank for days straight, but toxicology found no alcohol in either girl's systems. He claimed to have force-fed the girls a hot dog, but it wasn't found in their stomach contents. He claimed to have beaten them to death, but the wounds didn't line up with the violent death. It was also found that Bedwell was also clocked in at Ajax Consolidated Company from 4:19 p.m. on the 28th until 12:30 a.m. on the 29th. Further records confirmed that Bedwell had been working in Cicero on the date that he claimed to have murdered Barbara and Patricia. On February 6, Bedwell was freed on a $20,000 bond paid by an individual from Champaign. That same year, Bedwell would be tried for the 1956 rape of a 13-year-old girl in Oak Hill, Florida. He would be acquitted of the crime. Bedwell died in November 1972. I'm going to say, if you look at the facts in his confession, like, it doesn't line up in play. You know, it shows that he was at other places, and sometimes you want to make the crime fit
because you want answers.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily looks like it's working out for them. Yep. So in 2013, a retired West Chicago police officer, Raymond Johnson, began a personal investigation. He believes that the case is still solvable, but only with public assistance. His main suspect is confessed child killer Charles Leroy Melquist, who had been considered a suspect in the 1957 investigation. Melquist had been convicted of the September 1958 murder of 15-year-old Bonnie Lee Scott, whose decapitated body had been found 2 months after her disappearance, less than 10 miles from where the Grimes sisters were found. He was never questioned due to his attorney forbidding him from being subjected to questioning. The day after Bonnie was discovered, Loretta received a phone call from an individual who claimed the responsibility for the murder of her daughters. The caller stated, "I've committed another perfect crime." Loretta would remain adamant until her death that the caller had been the same individual who contacted her in May 1957 and revealed a deformity on one of her daughter's feet that was never made public. Charles Melquist was never charged with this alleged involvement in the deaths of the Grimes sisters. He died in 2010. But it said that he actually confessed to killing the Grimes sisters.
And 2013 is, 11 years ago now. But
yeah,
even at that point in 2013, you still, again, run into a lot of these people are dead, dying, don't remember, too old. Like, you know what I mean? And that's the frustrating part of finally now trying to solve cold cases when, a lot of people aren't here anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, or they're too old and they suffer from dementia. They don't remember. They've just completely blocked it out and don't want to talk about it.
And it's just sick, though, because you want to trust that when people call you that they're telling the truth or they're like making a confession. But the thing is, there's a lot of sick people out there that after somebody else was found, they would do prank calls.
Oh, of course.
So you don't know if that call's legit. Yeah. So how heartbreaking is it for a family to just want answers?
Exactly.
At this point, I wouldn't even care if they convicted somebody or not. I just want to know what happened. I just want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was a really a tragic story to lose two of your kids and then just not have any answers,
Yeah.
You just and there's a lot more out there like that.
Yeah. Unsolved. So
unfortunately. Well, thank you for joining us for another week.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you guys. We'll be back on track now every week and back at it, coming at you for the summer. Hopefully we can take a trip.
Yep.
Hopefully somewhere spooky.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. We'll let you guys know when we plan something. But yeah, thank you guys for being patient with us, all of our Patreons, for the lack of posting on Patreon. Hopefully my life will get back to normal. I'm still trying to straighten some stuff out, but yeah, hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yep. So we will see you again next week.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.